Hey, twisted people. It's your twisted girl here, Chauncey K. Robinson. And I am here with the woman who made it possible because she made me possible, my mother, Karen Robinson. And so we're discussing season 3, episode 18, the season, or should I say maybe the series finale for perhaps many of you out there of Charmed. And we got some things we got to talk about, some things we have to say. We're tackling a lot of the layers. For those of you who saw some of my, I did a tweet where, if some of you follow me on Twitter, I'm not on there a lot, but if you follow me on Twitter, I did a promo where I said, I mentioned the sacrificial magical Negro trope when it comes to what they shoehorned into this episode. And I'm going to go into why that is. Why that's what we got. And no matter how much they try to tie it up with a nice little bow and such, it was still in my opinion, a disservice to the character of Macy. What we got was Macy being killed off, essentially. You can claim that she went to the tree and now she's a spirit in some other world, but she was killed off. Killed off the Black Witch, y'all. And they didn't have to. But before we get into that, I'd like to first thank all of you who are joining us in the live chat and those of you who are joining us in the replay. We got Blue Wolf already saying how much they are going to miss Macy already. Melania saying my heart hurts. CJCF, hey, and welcome. Hi, finally made it to the live chat, but can't stay long. It's okay. Andrew is saying, I don't cry much, but I had to stop the episode several times because I kept breaking down sobbing. Macy left such a huge impact. I didn't realize how heartbroken I'd be till we had to say goodbye.
What's you, Andrew?
Damien is saying, I'm so sad. Let's talk about it. Lotus, Q, thanks for joining the chat and saying I'm really gonna miss Macy. Tevin, thanks for joining us in the live chat. Can't wait to hear what you and your mom have to say about this. So we do have I have a lot of things to say about it, and not really nice towards these writers.
You're right.
Not nice at all. And I'll get into it. But first, before we start, lady, let's do our overall grade for both the episode and then the season as a whole. And let us know in the chat and also on the replay, y'all, what is your grade? You gotta give us 2 grades in the chat and in the replay. The grade for the season 3, and your grade for this season finale. So, lady, what is your grade and what are you saying?
I give it a C+.
Is that the grade for the season or a grade for the season finale?
For both.
A C+. Okay, you got to tell us briefly why that is.
Because they could have did it better. They could have, they just made it so obvious. When she went down to the steps and saying that she's going to get this potion, get this stuff to try to stop the whispering evil. How the hell did the whispering evil find her that quick?
Mm-hmm.
And then it makes, like I said, the whole overall could have been, the whole season finale could have been a little better. Especially with, I'm just so upset about Macy.
Yeah.
Just hurt my heart. It could have been better. I gave it a C+ because they could have wrote that ending, that finale better and did everything so totally different than which way they took it.
Yeah. Jaws is saying in the live chat, thanks for joining us, Jaws. Although I know she chose to leave, I couldn't help but feel like black characters are just disposable. And we're going to talk about that. Some of the layers of this. Gerald, thanks for joining us in the chat, Jared. Jared is saying, hi, y'all. I was more upset than sad, mostly because of Madeline leaving instead of the character dying, since the writers did Macy so dirty in season 3.
Yeah.
Blue Wolf is actually giving it an A+, which is cool. Jackson McNuggets is giving an A finale an A+. Lola Mayer is giving a B for both the episode and the season. Okay. Lotus Q is saying the grade for this episode is a high A because I like how they dedicated it to Macy and really gave her a tribute. Okay. I don't think it was a tribute. I think it was a disposing and here's some sweetness so you guys are okay with it. But I could see, you know, how you could see that. And no one should feel like they can't give their opinion. Everyone, I want to hear what y'all are saying because we always keep it cool here. Yeah. And we all love storyline. We love this. We care for these characters. Jackson McNuggets is saying season is a B-. Patricia is saying, I was disappointed because they didn't have creativity. It was very basic how they solved everything. Death and new sister. Exactly, Patricia. We got to talk about it because this, I don't know where this show is going. Damien, I don't know what to grade this episode. It was amazing and heartbreaking at the same time. John saying, also finding out they knew she was leaving since January 26th. They couldn't focus on other things. Exactly. We got to talk about the behind the scenes stuff. Because that they allowed that to influence how they wrote the story, but not really though. But also they kind of showed their hand. When things have come out of what we know, they showed their hand. And we got to talk about how they showed their hand in a very in a messed up way. Andrew is saying the season a C+ because it was lacking, but the finale a B+ because Macy did get a better send off than Prue. She did. The season was bad, but the finale gets B+ for a better send-off than Prue. Lotus saying, I give the whole season a B- because characters were mishandled, and I felt like I was always waiting for something better. 401 Felix, thanks for joining us in the chat. 401 is saying, season a C, season finale B, the Macy love A. Damie, but if I were to give it a grade, I would give it an A just for Macy and Madeline. Jackson say, they found out that Macy leaving while shooting episode 15, which was the future episode.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I don't. Okay. So my grade for this season is a D. This was not a very good season. And we could call it because of our own modern day plague that we had, but I don't think that can stop good storytelling. If you actually know in the direction in which you are going with the show, you can still make it work with the restrictions, and they didn't do that. It's very, I think, as someone who is a writer, as someone who I'm going to throw out my credentials, y'all, here, as someone who is a writer, who's someone who has studied and has a degree in drama and things, of studying characters, of studying how to write arcs and drama and things like that. This show has been lacking since season 2. If we are being honest, this show has been lacking since season 2. This show has been aimless since mid-season 2. When new writers and staff and whatever took over, they threw out the baby in the bathwater when it came to season 1. And we had world building in season 1. Okay. We had mystical creatures. We had monsters of the week. We had a world. We had the elders. We had a lot of stuff going on. It was a big universe. And the season 2 came around and we had new showrunners and so on and so forth. And they threw all of that out. We got Witches Protection Program. And it seemed like that was used as an excuse not to do anything that they had done in season 1. And that's fine. You can do that. If you've got a better option, the bigger, better offer. If you've got a better option, then that's fine. Throw it all out. But if you do not, then maybe you should build on what your predecessor did. They did neither. They didn't have a bigger, better offer for us as viewers, and they didn't care to build off of what they had. Instead, what we always got was references to other creatures, an occasional witch here, a whole bunch of politics of the demon world, but not really, though. It was really more of an example of bringing their new original character, Abigail, into things. And so what we got from season 2 going into season 3 was an aimless show of people who didn't know how to world build when it came to magic and urban fantasy. That's the one issue here. And I actually think about it when I thought about a follower here on the last live stream. They made a comment that really stood out to me of how they were done with the show. But reason why is because they stuck around like you stick around for a bad boyfriend or partner because of the potential of it. And you think they're going to get better. It's okay. I see the potential. And I think that's what many of us were working with. We had highlights. We did. We had the highlight of Hasty and we had the highlight of occasional things here and there. But overall, if we are being honest, we had to pick things here and there to be happy about, because overall, this show was lacking and has been for some time. And season 3 just solidified that. Season 3 solidified that this show has been lacking. What we got with Macy, and I get that people are happy because in her dream she got the send-off, but let's be real. None of that was real. It did not happen, okay? It was a dream. It was a fantasy. What we got was the sacrificial magical Negro trope. Macy, the Black woman, like in many of these shows that we've seen before, was willing to sacrifice herself and had to be the one to be made to sacrifice herself for the greater good, okay? And she was made to be okay with it. So that they were telling us, the writers were telling us, you should be okay with Macy dying because Macy's okay with Macy dying. And we have seen this in plenty of other shows before. We saw it with Bonnie, with the Vampire Diaries, how she literally was a ghost, was made a ghost and okay with it because her friends were okay. She did not get to live her life. Okay, she got to be brought back eventually. But at that moment, when Julie Plec of TVD, of the Vampire Diaries, was ready to kill off that character, she was completely okay with that character not living her life. Macy was a young Black woman who had plenty of life and aspirations, an award-winning scientist, okay? Her life was cut short, and we're made to be okay with it because she got a nice dream. You should be concerned about a show that tells you that it's focused on the women of color characters, and yet the most developed plot lines, even when they found out around episode 15 of this season that Macy was leaving, they still had a whole family reunion showdown when it came to the Abigail character. Now, I like Abigail. I've got nothing against Abigail, but Abigail was allowed to go off on her own and decide, I'm going to go visit my sister for a bit. Why couldn't Macy get put in some magic coma? Why couldn't Macy get put in some other force field or something? And then they decide, if Madeline decides she's not coming back, they could have recast her. And then Macy, as the culturally Black witch, could have been allowed to continue her life. Instead, they gave that send-off to the white original character, who we all had thought maybe she was going to do a redemption arc and sacrifice herself. But they gave it to Macy instead. And they told you this is great. And you know why they told you this was okay? Because that's how they're used to writing Black women characters, okay? The showrunners are used to seeing Black women characters be okay with sacrificing themselves because they're the hero, and we should be okay with it too. You should not be okay with it. This was a disservice to this character and her potential. I'm not talking about Mads. You know, she felt like she needed to leave. None of us know what went on behind the scenes. So that's fine. I'm not speculating on it. I'm talking about this character and what this character represented and how they were willing in all of the episode that was so-called her special send-off to tell you there's another sister coming. So don't worry. There's another sister. And Mel from the future telling Mel, well, there's so much you can do. We, in the same episode that we are so-called, were told that we were getting a beautiful Macy send-off, was then told to get over it because more is coming. It is a disservice to this character and to representation that this so-called woke show pretends that it has to be, when the most fleshed out storyline the characters that any characters have been given were to their two white characters. You should be concerned. You should be concerned. This was them playing you and hoping that you'd be okay with season 4. This was bad writing. But then again, it's been bad writing since season 2. And maybe many of us are just now being able to admit that this show overall has not been very strong. And instead of being a new thinking outside of the box type of show that was supposed to be different than its predecessor, they have literally become a carbon copy. Now we've got a fourth sister coming around. How? Who? I mean, Is anyone else concerned that they've made Marisol a hoe? You got this powerful Latino witch and you made her a hoe? She got babies running around she didn't care to raise? Come on. What an insult to the motherhood. You should be concerned with how they're handling this storyline and what characters they have allowed. And you should also be concerned that Macy was the one to have to tell Harry, you'll love again.
Oh, that's really hurt me.
You'll love again? She just died, y'all. They're telling you they sent her off, but what they were really telling you was, we're not tying this up in a neat bow so you can stop thinking about it because we already dead. The writers online were then answering questions about Poppy coming back next season. How about you focus on the fact that one of the sisters just died and you figure that out? Instead, they want to talk to you about how their white original character is coming back next season. Read the room. Read the room. This ain't our show, y'all. Read the room. Okay? Read it. Because it's telling you what they think when it comes to window dressing. And their idea, centering the women of color characters, is simply having them in the room while they develop the other characters who happen to be white. And that's what we have seen for the last season and a half when it comes to this show. And that was culminated with what they gave us with Macy in this season finale. They cut this story short of this. And they didn't have to. But you know what? They had no concern for writing for Macy. They didn't want to write for Macy. So they were fine with getting rid of her. You should be concerned. The one culturally black witch on this show, not Maggie, was disposed of today. Was disposed of in that season finale. And then they told you to get over it because there's so much more we need to do. You should be concerned. Now I'm going to step off my soapbox for a second because I needed to get that out. And I've seen this in plenty of times, and I'm going to get it out and let it go. Y'all, I'm going to get it out and let it go because I've seen it too much. And I know that there's way too many great other programming out here to stay and hate watch a show that has showed me their hand. I didn't do it with Sleepy Hollow when I saw the writing on the wall for that. I didn't do it for the Vampire Diaries when I saw the writing on the wall for that. I didn't do it for any other show when I saw the writing on the wall for that. I bounced because my piece is more worth than these writers giving me a hack plot. What do you think, lady? I'm going to go through the talks while we're doing that. What's your thoughts?
On what?
What I said.
On everything about the not having the black witch.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I you know what? I really thought that was yeah. They did that too quickly. I mean, they killed her off too quick and just have her gone through her memories and everything else. Things she didn't get to do with her sisters. That was wrong. I agree with you on that because they could have put her in a coma. They could have brought her back as a different person and all together. But it was they could have said, "You're Macy, yeah," but you guys said, "Yeah, I'm a different." In a way, it would have been like explaining how her whole face and everything got different. You know?
Yeah.
That what
we could have got another black woman to play her.
Yeah.
And we could have gone from there. Instead, they decided to do away with this character. You should ask why they were so quick to be okay with tying up her plot line. And in a happy way. See, the thing is, you think they did it in a happy way to give her a proper send-off. What they did was that they didn't want Macy hanging over their heads for season 4. They wanted to do away with her. So if they show her happy in the afterlife, I'm happy to be dead in the afterlife, right? They then give themselves an out to not have the other characters dwelling on it. Yeah. They wanted to be done with this character. And they knew they couldn't do that if they had her die without being quote unquote happy to be dead. Okay? It wasn't because they gave a crap and wanted to give y'all fan service. It's because they wanted to write season 4 without thinking about her. And they couldn't do that if she wasn't okay with being dead. They do this often. when it comes to Black women characters. They make us accept our sacrifice.
Yeah, but that was I mean, Harry in a sense, he helped her, but yet
we know all of this, but we know it was and they made. I'm telling y'all should be concerned that they made it so she had to tell him and he would love again. You should be concerned what's going to happen in season 4 and what they're going to do with his character.
Like they're going to make him fall in love with the whoever come along.
Exactly, because they wouldn't have made her say that if they weren't kind of open it up for that.
So
I'm telling you, they did that to make it so she could give all of them the right, the writers included, to forget about her and to move on. You should be concerned that they could dispose of a main character like that, a Black woman character like that. Jackson McNugget is saying the finale proved the show was lacking. Lola is saying, I'm really hoping that the writers learn their lesson and actually do better in season 4. I'm looking forward to Jordan being a white lighter. They're not going to learn their lesson. If they think they got away with this, it's not happening. Yes, Jared, I just said that, right? Macy had the Bonnie Bennett treatment. She got the Bonnie treatment. She's okay with dying for everybody. Screw how she had her life ahead of her, right? It's okay. I got to live it all out in a dream. Jaws, but it's also effed up because her greatest fear was to be replaced, and now they're doing exactly just that. They don't care. They don't care. They don't care.
Just did that and just brought it back.
Andrew said, that's why I was crying. Even though we got to see her do these things, at the end of the day, it wasn't real. It's not fair to Macy. Exactly. CJCF said, when Macy told Harry he will love again, I nearly threw my iPad. Exactly. Why would you make it so the Black woman is also not just okay with giving up her life and all that she has to have ahead of her? She's also okay with giving up the love of her life. You see what I'm saying when I tell you they try to make Black women the mules of the world? They try to make it so that we are okay with sacrificing ourselves because we do it for the greater good at the peril of ourselves. This is implicit bias that shows itself in the writings of people who claim that they will do well with our stories, and they still just push their own rhetoric, their own propaganda. It's not okay. Madame Scorpio, exactly. That send-off was bullish. Jackson McNugget, Macy could have been Leo being frozen in death. Exactly. I'm telling y'all, they had so many ways to write this where she wasn't dead. They chose not to do that. It was a choice. And they're expecting you to be okay with it for season 4 because there's so much more we can do. So much what? You had 2 years and y'all still didn't do any world building. We don't even know what's going on in the magical world. We have no idea who runs anything. Okay, the magical world was thrown away and they never built it back up. But this is a show about witches and witchcraft. There's no world building. There's no universe. 2 years you've been at the helm and we've got nothing to show for it except the tomb of chaos, except the big old gel. What's going on with all the other magical creatures?
They don't know.
Exactly. They don't know because these writers and these showrunners didn't have the range for this kind of show. John saying, yeah, I agree. A recast for the character as a whole would have just been better. And I said that in the last stream. Exactly. You did, Joz. You did. Lotus is saying kind of like the Black women should be strong trope, even in the face of death. Exactly. I tell you, they push that. It's something I've seen so often in so many Black women characters, whereas this idea that she should be willing to sacrifice herself and her own happiness for the greater good of everybody else. And we all should be okay with that because she's okay with it. I'm not okay with it. It's been done before, which shows you these writers are not able to write these kind of stories for women of color. Madame Scorpio, yeah, this entire season was beyond BS. The magical wedding just felt like someone stabbed me in the back. Blue Wolf is saying Maggie and Mel didn't even shed tears like the original Charmed. Damien saying, I'm not excited about season 4 at all. John saying it was episode 8 they found out, not 15, by the way. Yeah, they found out somewhere, but guess who they still continue to put emphasis on? Guess who they continue to still put emphasis on? And then we got that shoehorned in send-off in the season finale. They had episodes. Even if it was 3 episodes, they had episodes. 3, 10, whatever. They had episodes to really do this, and they chose not to. That was a choice. Choices were made. They showed their hand to you all. You should be concerned. Damien, they just disposed of the black woman like that. Madame Scorpio said the charm legacy needs to just stop. CJCF saying I'm done with it. Blue Wolf saying they made Macy's whole world revolve around a man, and that was her whole plot line. Exactly. 401 Felix saying the writers don't care. Last season, the charm ones had to protect other witches. This season, we had that dumb mom trying to do whatever her plot was. Andrew saying, honestly, they didn't need Abigail. They could have done a storyline of Macy struggling with her demon side without her yin and yang pendant. Exactly. Jay Lee saying, Macy resignation felt more like a Mel thing. Mel is much more self-sacrificing than Macy, so that was out of character. It was, but they made it, Jay Lee, they put that, well, let's be honest, okay? This whole season, they've been making characters do whatever they want the characters to do for the plot. There's been a lot of out of character moments in this whole entire season, if we're being honest. And they basically made Macy do what they wanted Macy to do because they wanted to move the plot along. Lotus Q saying if they knew she was leaving since many episodes ago, why did they continue with that ridiculous Harry mortality plot line? Because Harry's important to them, just like they continue with the Abigail plot line. Harry and Abigail are important to these writers. Why do you think that is? Why do you think these characters get as much of, we get to see Harry's grandchildren and all this other stuff? Why do we think that? We got to see Abigail's whole entire family. All I knew in these last 3 years was Macy's father. I never got to know any of her cousins. None of that. None of it. But I see Harry's lineage. I know Abigail and her niece, her sister, her mama, all of that. Like I said, you should be concerned. Jared is saying this version of charm is very one-dimensional and it's upsetting. The potential was definitely wasted because these showrunners and writers do not have the range for this kind of show. That's my thoughts exactly, Jared. And I think, like I said, I feel like the season finale, and for me, to be honest, y'all, series finale, really just kind of solidified that for me. It just solidified they don't have the range to write this kind of show. And I've just seen too many better magical shows to be sitting through this hoping they get it together. Ray is saying, I don't think they knew that far in advance. They knew before. They knew some episodes before. I'm not exactly sure how many episodes they knew before, but they did know some episodes before, to the point where they could have switched some stuff around and they chose not to. What we got was everything pushed into episode 18. They chose to do everything else, and they knew some episodes before. Maybe not 10, but they knew at least 3 episodes before. I think what I saw online is that they found out sometime before the break, which was, I think, after they had finished, I think, episode 13 or 14. There was 18 episodes, right? They had at least 3 episodes. They could have fixed some stuff.
Yeah, they could have made, even though she was trying to get rid of the whispering evil, they could have just let her, freeze time as whatever with him there, and then they could have got the,
Yeah. Over. Andrew said, I don't know about charm, but a lot of CW shows are filmed out order, but that's still no excuse for bad writing. Jed Young saying because they're white, Harry and Abigail, and the CW wants to focus on the white characters only. Jay Lee is saying the showrunners are straight white married couple running a show for 3 single women of color, one of whom is gay. Diversity is important. It matters in the writing room and who runs these shows. It really does matter, because sometimes what you get is shallow writing like this that basically is really tone deaf at times. Deb said the showrunners gave this speech about leaving the door open for a return from Macy, then killed her off, made her tell Harry he'd love again, then told them there's another sister. What'd I say? They said, oh, we're going to leave the door open. They kill her. They have her tell Harry he'll love again and that there will be another sister. What door? What door was left open? No door was left open. Jenny Young, that's why they ruined one-on-one in the past. The original showrunner should have stayed on. They had no business being replaced. CJ, exactly. We only know Dexter, his Macy's father. Macy had more dialogue with Abigail's mom than Josephina. Yep. Bannon saying, I think not only did they do not have the range, but they also do not have the passion for this show and its main three characters. I completely agree. I think it shows. And I think you see that through them having to bring in two other characters who they fleshed out way more than they did the sisters. If you had the passion for this show, you wouldn't need to bring on other characters to flesh them out more than your main three. You'd be fleshing out your main three. As we keep going into this, Ma, what did you think of Jordan's thing? I kind of thought it was predictable because a lot of us were calling it, but it seems like he has white lighter powers now. What do you think?
Jordan was funny.
Yeah.
When they told him he had to kill, when they told him that he had to kill Harry, he looked at him like, "What?"
Yeah.
Like, you ain't blaming me for murdering this man. But I knew Jordan. Somehow I figured after that, when that last shock came, I figured he was going to end up with something. Because I think it kind of blew up and something went into him too.
Yeah, well, it looks like I think he healed Maggie's cut or something.
They showed that.
We don't know if he's exactly a white lighter, right? We just see that he has powers.
Yeah.
Do you think that was predictable because everyone wanted him to be a white lighter?
Yeah, it was predictable.
How do you feel? I almost feel like and I saw someone else mention this, I almost feel like they transferred the witch and white lighter thing over from Macy and Harry to Maggie and Jordan now.
Yeah.
It seems like that's what they might be doing.
But see, if they was going to go along that line of the OG one, then they could have you could have just left it like it was with everything. Mm-hmm. So I guess they just tried vice versa, but then you still came back to the old way of the charm.
It's not a real reboot if you just kind of go about everything the same way when presented with other choices, and they totally.
But I go one way and then come back. You went back to the old way.
I don't know. I think it just shows these writers and the showrunners don't have the range for this kind of show.
It didn't make no sense.
Yeah. Jackson is saying, also Macy saw the future and she saw herself being the whispering evil and killing Abby. She saw a possible future, right? It wasn't exactly the future. She saw what could possibly happen.
Yeah.
Eric Davis is saying, season 4 is going to tank and they deserve it. I hope the show gets canceled. Jared is saying, exactly, no kind of diversity in that writer's room and no authenticity when it comes to writing characters that aren't self-inserts. Exactly. That's the issue. These characters were self-inserts. You know, funny enough, you had a straight white married couple and we got two people, a white man and a white woman, being inserted more into the plot line than ever before. Funny that, right?
Yeah.
Wolf is saying, what's messed up is that the season finale that we saw was the only time they bonded as sister, and that was a darn dream.
I have to get some air in here.
Yeah. Melania, go ahead, Mom. What are you saying?
No, I'm just saying how they did that too. They, all of a sudden now they had to stay by her to be everything that she wanted to do.
Yeah. They use the sisterly bond when they have to remind everyone this show is charmed. I feel like any other time that we've seen, even in season 3, any other time they're off doing their own thing, they're hardly talking, and then when they need to remind us, they get one scene at the end where they're all sitting around drinking their thing, talking about, and we'll do it together. Mind you, most of the episodes they're never really together, but I guess they're going to face things together. Cool. Even though y'all never did that before. Melania, and this is the thing. When you have a long lost sister, you are giving the same plot line we just had with Macy since season 1. Macy was the long lost sister. Are you going to really do that again? So Macy can't even hold on to her regular plot line? And Marisol had another kid somewhere that she also chose she could not raise? What kind of mess is that you think that makes sense? That makes more sense than just doing a soul swap. Y'all could have just did a soul swap. You literally could have just put her body in another actress. We would have been okay with it. There's a whole ass show out there, Batwoman. We were okay with it. It wasn't a soul swap, but we were okay with them replacing and just keeping with the Batwoman storyline. Okay? We're okay with casting new people. You know? What we're not okay with is what you did to a character that many of us were invested in and you just disposed of, yet you let your white character come in, dominate most of the plot lines in terms of being fleshed out, and then she just gets to walk off with her suitcase only to return season 4. But you had to really kill off Macy.
And no one makes so bad about that. Now, she had her firepower. Why didn't she use it to kill? I mean, that's not... And see, they just wrote that where he just got her so easily. Come on.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Because they needed it to happen. They wanted to get rid of Macy before season 4 started because they don't want to write for that character and they didn't want to write for the impact that character had. They gave you a happy ending and a dream that meant nothing and then hope that we all just move on and we're cool with it. Melania is saying, knowing that what we know of writers, how should viewers hold them accountable? Stop watching a show is one thing, but what else are our options as consumers? Legit curious, feeling helpless. What do you think, Ma? And what do y'all think in the chat and in the replay? What do y'all do when a show clearly has lost the plot?
Well, they say you could write them, but do they really read the comments that you read,
Yeah.
What you be writing and what you be telling them? And then even if you don't look at it, people gonna look at it and they still got some kind of rating coming in. But it's just that maybe more you keep writing to them and say, this is a stupid line that you're going with. Why can't you try this or that? But they're not. I don't know if they really listen to us or not. All the comments I be writing on things.
Soap operas. I know when you watch those soap operas, you be going off.
I mean, really, do my storyline. It's better than your storyline. I mean, damn, even with this, I could have wrote a better storyline for Macy.
We all could have. As soon as I saw it, I was just like, I could have no, you didn't have to do it this way at all.
I mean, really,
the thing is, it was crying unnecessarily because they didn't have to go this route.
Yeah, I said, are you kidding me? I can't, but yeah, you lose your power, bring your power back, you save her, but then you can't save her? What kind? And then you bring back the woman in the tree?
Woman in the Tree, y'all, have been absent. We didn't get any help from her. I don't know how many times on how many streams, y'all. Can I talk about how many streams I have talked about where I said, why haven't the charm ones gone to this woman for help? This woman has been missing for episodes. I thought something happened to the tree the way it was happening. Turns out the tree was fine. The writers just didn't care to think about them going to her for help.
They said when Macy died. Yeah.
And it was just like,
back to the tree with you.
Yo, I can't trust this show anymore. I do not. I didn't trust it before. I really don't trust it now. But in terms of what Melania is saying, for me, as someone who watches, I watch a good amount. I try to kind of pick my battles though. I even want, I think as especially a consumer in a group who tends to have my representation at times get treated not so great. I have come to really just kind of vet the show before I watch it. I try to see who's behind the show. I try to see what their intentions are. I try to see who's the actors and what their stuff is. And not so much where I need to know everything about them, but just kind of where's this show going? Especially when I see a Black woman character where I'm like, okay, what's her role? Is it the same old? Is there hope? Who's writing this? And so that's a precursor for me before I start anything. And then throughout, when I start seeing kind of shady stuff, I think the most I can do, or I say I can do, is you can't control how others react or what they do. You can't control how you can't. Okay, but you can't control how you react. That's the saying, right? You can't control what others do, but you can control how you react. And there's something to be said when you take your ratings somewhere else. And there's something to be said. I mean, it does seem like it's just, you just stop watching, that's it. But that's actually pretty powerful because they need your advertisement dollars. They need us talking about this online. They need the murmur. If we turn our gaze from it, and we say, no, we're done. And we give them that negative backlash. And on top of that, we move on from something else. There have been plenty of shows that have fumbled the ball, and then the next season they get canceled because people leave out. Heroes is a great example of this. If people remember Heroes at I think it was NBC, Heroes was on, and they had a great first season. Wonderful first season. They were considered
Heroes. Heroes was good.
But season 2 went downhill. They switched up a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
things got weird. They started killing off a lot of the characters of color. I don't know why that was, but a lot of characters of color were dying. And it got really ragged on by the reviewers, by the viewers, and they plummeted. And what happened was that Heroes got canceled. They didn't get another, and they went from being a mega hit show. So I don't think it's too hard for a show like Charmed to have that same kind of thing. And this is not me advocating for this show to be canceled. I'm not that kind of person. It's not that kind of person. You can want a show to be canceled because you just think it's taking up space. So there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm not advocating for this show to get canceled. What I'm saying is that I don't see it lasting very long. They've been moving it from day to day. That was on Monday one time, Sunday another time, Friday another time. They've been moving it all around, and the ratings aren't that great, And I don't think they're going to get better with what they've chosen to do in the third season and how they handle this. So my honest opinion is this show is on a lifeline, on life support. Sure and if you want to make an impact, you keep saying what they did and how you felt, but also just stop watching. I think that's the most impactful thing, to stop giving it your eyes. I know people go on Twitter and they complain a lot, but this is the thing. When you go on Twitter and stuff, you're still giving it attention. I mean, for this initial thing, that makes sense. We're all talking about it right now, but then you gotta let it go. You gotta say, okay, we're done. I'm moving on. Because let's be honest, the ratings weren't that high for this show to begin with. So you can imagine if they start bleeding viewers, what that's going to look like. So that's my thing. That's my thought process on it. And I just think as a person of color who watches these, as a Black woman who watches these, even more than just trying to get a show canceled or getting backlash, my thing is to protect my peace. And so even if a show continues on, which is totally fine to do, I don't want to keep hate watching something. Because you shouldn't have to make yourself feel that way with writers or showrunners who do not care about your demographic or don't care about you, the viewer. It's not worth it. Not even hate watching. And I say that as someone who and I learned my lesson when I kept hate watching Glee. It wasn't worth it. It really wasn't worth it. I stayed watching Glee way longer than I needed to, and it upset me. And I look back on that sometimes and I'm like, I spent a lot of time in a fandom that I hated the show I was watching. Didn't do anything for me. Just kept them on air. Kept money in their pockets. Ray is saying, I hope they hire Bruhera people so infused in the writing like the OG involved Wiccan priestess as consultants on episodes. I think it would just be lip service, to be honest, even if they did. Bannon is saying, diversity only matters if you try to show it. Truly not say you are getting to represent what you don't. Lotus is saying, can Macy come back through the Tree Garden end? I mean, I think that's what they meant by keeping the door open, that somehow she could come back in a way. But the fact that
they're gonna do it like, you see how have you ever saw in the OJ how the grandmother and them always came back?
Yeah.
When they wanted to talk to them or try to do certain things.
Yeah. They did it to Marisol. Marisol comes back occasionally.
No,
they've made her a magical Negro. They somehow made Macy a magical Negro in her own show, y'all. It's what it is. Jackson is saying, I hate the time meddling from Future Mel because adding time travel like that creates so many plot holes. And it's like, hey, she could have warned Macy not to ingest the toxin. Couldn't she, right? Did Mel not know that was going to happen? The Future Mel? You see the plot hole here, y'all? You see the lack of range that these writers have? That Future Mel couldn't warn her about her sister?
Don't touch that. And then when she did, he tells she's going to have to fight it with the fire. And, if he don't like fire, throw the fire at him. Try to throw your ball and then you run in there. I mean, she had the ball. Why couldn't she just throw it and then run in there? I mean, run run into the thing.
Because they were killing her off, Ma. That's why. We've said this before. Haven't we said this before? These writers decide something and then they make things happen to get to what did they decide. They do not let the story dictate the plot.
Yeah, I know, but we saw all the alternatives you could have went with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Andrew is saying, honestly, what the heck are they going to even gonna do with this new sister? The writers already pulled every ridiculous storyline. At this point, there's almost no reason to continue. Lotus is saying, Jordan was funny. He told Harry to jump in front of a car. Yeah, to kill himself. Yeah.
She said he's not getting killed.
Jaylee is saying, I love that Jordan is a white lighter. I don't think it was predictable, just hinted at and followed through on. I'm glad he was able to become a white lighter without dying because he has a lot of life to live. But I guess we'll see. Well, people who continue watching will see. I probably won't see because I'm not watching this show in season 4. But yeah, I guess we'll see. Damien is saying that message by the execs were absolute BS. They just say that to be polite. Absolute rush it. Ray is saying, I think Jordan is dead and doesn't know it from that Uber shock, which means due to Maggie, he has been to hell and died. LOL, not funny. Yeah,
you could.
Thanks for joining us, CJ. It's always a pleasure. 401 is saying, I truly don't understand why Abby's sister and mother came into the situation. Jordan was great. I thought they were going to try to kill him at first, and I was going to be pissed. Yeah, I think they felt like they couldn't kill off 2 black characters in one episode. So they decided to not do that. That seems to be what it was. Just catching up what y'all are saying in the chat. Jackson saying, I hope Jordan is not dead and just got white lighter power. I can't go through the brutality stuff with Maggie and Jordan, but they might do it because these writers are hacks. Jackson saying, as much as that's sad as I'm still excited for season 4 and I hope the show will not be canceled. No, we don't hate you, Jackson. You are totally within your right to want to watch season 4.
I watched that first half to see how they did this.
I just when someone shows you their true colors, you believe them, right? And I say the same thing for writing. When writers of a show you the extent of their talent or lack thereof with writing, you believe them. You don't sit around hoping they get better, which I did for a season and a half on this show. They keep
the way they did that.
They're gonna keep doing what they do. Mm-hmm. So if you want more of the same,
I bet you I could call how they're gonna do that.
Yeah.
I'll probably tell you the whole story because they're going back to the old way.
Yeah. Madame Scorpio saying, I think becoming a white lighter means you have to sacrifice yourself saving someone. Harry needs a magical defibrillator, please. The goddess was like, nope, I need a real sacrifice. Yeah.
They gave him.
Ben and it's saying, I never got a real sisterly bond feeling from them. I got the most feeling of it in season 1 rather than the later ones, which was weird. Yeah. Well, that's because it was different writers, right? Different showrunners. They had different intentions. They brought it with
that dumb they couldn't touch.
Yeah. 401 is saying, I'm really not happy with the narrative of a Hispanic mom giving away her kids. Are they really going to do that? That's what I was saying. I was like, the layers of this. With the Macy thing, the layers were all messed up. Black woman sacrificing herself for the greater good, totally being okay with giving up the love of her life, plus her life for what? I don't know. And then 2, you got it. So the Hispanic mother is pushing out babies and giving them away and just kind of not thinking of the consequences. Talk about pushing bad stereotypes. Like, what is that? They don't think that, you know what I'm saying here? You get what I'm saying? I'm telling y'all, these writers don't have the range to write these stories for women of color. And I'm not saying that a white showrunner can't do it because we've seen it. I've seen it in some shows. But these aren't it. They don't got the range to write these kind of stories because they aren't privy. They clearly aren't about trying to avoid the same old stereotypes and tropes that we see far too often in these kind of shows when it comes to characters of color. Damien, what the entire season should have been, they packed into the episode finally and then used the entire season for Abby's redemption. Absolute BS. Jared is saying, my guess is that the next charm one is going to be an actor that has been in previous CW shows or lives in Canada where they film because it's cheaper. Probably. They're probably going to pick someone from another show. Don't forget, 401 is saying, don't forget, they could have just used different cultures magic and cast a fire spell. They could have. Yeah, they could have done a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I told you there was alternatives. They just didn't go that way. And I am truly disappointed in that. I figured once they was not going to go that way, they could have kept Macy alive, could have changed her, like you said, put her in deep freeze death or frozen, whatever, which one. Oh, well.
Eric is saying, and they had Maggie and Mel just give up on Macy so easily. OG Charm sisters would have fought like hell to save one another.
Hello.
Yeah. Jaylee is saying, OG Charm sisters would have broken every rule to save their sister. They wouldn't even give up if the clock ran. Exactly. It would have went into the next season. But the thing was, Prue straight up died, and there was nothing they can do. So it hung over. But this is the thing, too. They're witches. Why couldn't they have, I mean, I don't know about you, but if I have magical powers, I would have tried to do a soul spell. I would have been like, hey, you're still here. Maybe we can do a spell to transfer your soul to another body.
Hello. Okay.
They could have done that. Instead, they made it so Macy, they wrote it. The writers made it so Macy was okay with being dead, with losing everything she had gained in the past 3 years. They made it so she was okay with that because that's where they wanted to go. They didn't want to write for Macy anymore. They didn't want to write for the Black Witch, y'all. Erica Booker, thanks for joining us, Erica. Is saying this show has been making me upset from the third episode of this season, and now Madeline leaving just has me want to stop watching altogether. Only thing good to come out of season 2 and 3 is Jordan. Yeah. And Erica, of course, saying, and my husband is Jimmy, who they also killed off with a stupid kind of roundabout way. We all talked about it. It just seemed kind of silly. All of a sudden, they just got rid of the whole we're two halves who need to be joined together plot line. And that's just stupid. Letizia is saying the original Charm ones have been mostly biased and racist toward the new Charm one sister. So I can't even entertain anything from them. I think what we're talking about, Letizia, is the charmed characters, the OG Charm characters. We're not talking about the Charmed actors from there, how they were written more so. Letizia saying Macy, Sarah, and Mel are all half Hispanic, and the writers chose to go with deep bias and prejudice. We as viewers who care and want diversity should make them accountable. I agree. I don't know if you were here, Letizia. You might want to scroll back when you get a chance for the replay. But I gave pretty much like a 10-minute talk where I talked about the racism, the implicit bias, and the prejudice that really showed and reared its ugly head in this season finale, and the treatment of the Macy character as the culturally Black witch in terms of how she was raised. And I'm not going to go through it all again, but I hear you and I agree. I think they knew some episodes before the season finale that Madeline was leaving, and they still chose to focus on all of Abigail's whole family. And to know what they knew and to still keep going with the writing to allow Abby to be able to just walk away unscathed while Macy basically had to die completely. I think it just shows the bias of their favoritism and who they favored. Jaws is saying, now, why couldn't Mel use that time spell like in season 1 with Nico? Now that's an actual door left open. Exactly. Liliana is saying, I feel like my opinion on what made this season 3 bad will not really be agreed with, but I feel like they focused on stuff that messed with the characters for mainly Mel and Macy. Okay. Madame Scorpio saying, I knew when the Book of Spells came back and Spanish was default language of BOS where the writing is going. They want more Hispanic viewership. They'll mess that up too. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
I said, wait a minute. The Book of Magic is in Spanish?
Yeah. I'm gonna be honest with you, but I felt the same way. When people were saying, oh, how happy they were that Brujeria was getting added, I was like, that's really cool. And I don't know if y'all remember from a few streams ago, but I said, there's also hoodoo, which is African American witchcraft, not just African witchcraft, but African American witchcraft. It has a long history in the United States of hoodoo, Hoodoo. And they could have touched on that with Macy. There was a really good opportunity for that. There's plenty of ways that writers. There's a book like this, Hoodoo Bible Magic. There's books like this. This is not an admission that I practice this or anything at all. I'm just a reader of many books. I read a lot of stuff. I happen to have this.
I need that book.
But there's a deep roots of African American magic in the United States that has so much history and depth. And I saw when they kind of went for the default of the Brujeria, which is also cool, that they weren't trying to dive more into Macy stuff. So there's that. Yeah, Jackson, they did. They had Galvin and Mama Roz in season 1. Those were completely different writers and showrunners, though, wasn't it? We see where it went after they left. Andrew is saying, I miss how in season 1 they had magic from all over, not just Weston and Bruja. Exactly. Letizia is saying, I'm so pissed. I wasn't sure if I could handle more fuel to my angry fire. No, I get it. I get it. It's a lot. And this is the thing. Some people are always like, oh, it's just a TV show. You'll get over it. And a lot of time, I'll be honest with you, that's white. It tends to be white viewers who feel that way sometimes when it's like, oh, it's just a show. You can find another show. I remember with the Sleepy Hollow thing and people were up in arms, or when it came to Bonnie from the Vampire Diaries and people were upset with the treatment of the characters and people were like, it's just a show. But, when you are used to, yeah. Well, first of all, stories are impactful. Stories make the world go round. Narrative is super important. Never dismiss a story as just a story because they are super influential, first and foremost. Yeah. The second thing, and I say that as a writer and aspiring, novelist and stuff. The second thing is a lot of time when you are in a group that is so used to seeing yourself represented in so many different forms, such as white viewers tend to be, you don't really understand sometimes the impact of what happens when a character that is like you, that is not always in abundance on every show, when that character is treated a certain way, how that does have an impact. Media matters. One of the reasons that we saw, I'll just throw a statistic at you because I'm a nerd. When it came to young women, young girls going into coding and stem cell research in particular, that, what pushed more women to go into stem cell research, a very important scientific branch that was very much lacking in women. Do you know what it was, Mom?
No, what was it?
Watching shows like NCIS, shows like CSI, and things like that. Oh. Watching themselves be on shows made them think they had a chance to do it. It matters. Representation is so important. And when you are in a position where you are always represented, you might not understand how impactful or how much it can hurt when a character who looks like you is treated a certain way. And so it shouldn't be dismissed. And I do not dismiss a lot of people. I saw it online. I don't really go on social media as much anymore these days because it's a lot of noise and chatter. But when I heard the situation with Matt's leaving, I did look online and I felt for people because people were genuinely upset because of what they interpreted was how the actress was treated and how the character had been treated, how the show was going. And I understand. And it's justified. And never feel like you're overreacting. I mean, short of like wishing like that. Don't do that stuff. Like, don't threaten nobody. But like when you're upset and want to like hold people accountable, it is totally justified. And you have every right to be upset with things like this because it shouldn't still be happening. We're in the year 2021. Get more better writers who can actually tell authentic storytelling behind the scenes at this point. Blue Wolf is saying, don't forget about Kendra. I think you corrected that later on. Blue Wolf, the black vampire slayer from Buffy. They did her wrong by killing her all. Yes, they did. I remember that too. You just reopened a wound, Blue Wolf. No, I'm saying like, no, I remember that too. She was really formidable. She was boss. That was my girl. She's on Queen Sugar now. She never ages. She was on the new class of Saved by the Bell. That girl is just, I forget her name who played Kendra, but she is, she's actually Beyonce's half sister now because Beyonce's mother is married to her father. But she played Kendra, and I loved that. I was like, oh my gosh, a black slayer. And she was badass too. And what did they do? They had Drusilla lull her in and just cut her throat in just a split second, and she was dead. And what did that make room for? Who did that make room for? 5 by 5, 5 by 5, B, Faith. That was Faith's line. 5 by 5, B, whatever that means. That made room for another white woman slayer. They killed her off instantaneously, Kendra, and then made room for Faith, who, I mean, although she was a fun character, they could have just made Kendra do that. For whatever reason, they felt like they needed to kill Kendra off to bring Faith in, when they could have just made Kendra like that from the onslaught. Don't know why, but they chose to go that route. Hi, Magic Me. Thanks for joining us. Jaylee is saying it's always just a show when you can see yourself positively reflected. Most of the characters are on it. Exactly. Bannon is saying they are not just shows. I am still super pissed they killed Carter from Person of Interest and they gave her a heroic and meaningful death. Yes. Liliana is saying that can also be said about shows where they mistreated gay characters, since a majority of shows are mainly hetero main characters, which is why I've been so outspoken about Mel Story. Exactly. And I totally have understood that, Liliana. And I've also said the same things about Mel Story, you know, I totally understand, as you know, for you and belonging to a group, it's like, yeah, it sucks. And it's like when you're giving lip service that it's going to be so great and they think they just give you crumbs and you should be okay with it because why not? They show their hand. And like I said, these writers and these showrunners have been showing their hand for this show for a minute. Jed is saying Macy was a great character except in season 3. They made her character all about Harry for no reason. Her hatred towards Abby was because she put her lips on Harry. Damien saying the creators of the reboot knew what they were doing and shouldn't have left. This new set of people don't know and don't care about people of color stories. Yes, Madame Scorpio. Kat Graham had the most talent in Vampire Diaries, and we see how they treated her. I'm still salty about Bon Bon. Yeah. Yes. Deb is saying they're probably going to bring in a Latino or Afro-Latina sister to try and keep that Black and Hispanic fan base. I could see that. But all they had to do was just recast Macy. Like, why you got to do a whole new character? You could have just put her in a different body. Jed is saying, I usually hate speaking about race, but you're right. That trope shouldn't have been featured when there were other ways to write her out. They did to Prue, and now they're doing it to Macy. Letizia is saying people of color need entertainment representation in TV and movies. It hasn't really changed in the 21st century. Very true. Letizia is saying exactly. Macy was the one who I identify with. My interest with magic, science, and fantasy. It's hard to find women of color being represented without bias and prejudice. Liliana is saying not just people of color though, Letizia. LGBTQ people also need rep on screen and behind the scene. We are going to talk about representation in TV. And Liliana, I would actually also add, this is the thing too, though, when you talk about LGBTQ. What also tends to happen, like when you get shows like Ryan Murphy shows, you usually get white LGBTQ or white male LGBTQ, right? And oftentimes what tends to not get as much attention is people of color LGBTQ. That's another thing. Or it's at sacrifice for white LGBTQ characters. So it's all interconnected. It's not necessarily one or the other. I think it's called, you know, what we have to think of as intersectionality, you know? It's the same thing with women. Sometimes people are like, oh, we need more women representation. Look at all these strong women. And then all you see is white women. And we're all the women viewers are supposed to get behind these white women characters because they're strong women characters. And if we don't get behind them, we're called haters, or we're being told that we are not being supportive of the women's movement. Funny thing is, though, it's not intersectional. when it comes to women a lot of time, right? And I remember when what was the Agent Carter series was happening, and it wasn't getting good ratings. It was on ABC, and the Agent Carter series was happening, I think, and there was a lot of stuff going on online where Black women particularly kind of weren't feeling the show. I mean, well, that's what you kind of saw. They just weren't trying to watch it or whatever. And they were.
Who that was?
Huh?
Carter. That was with the one that was about
Captain America. Yeah.
Look, come on, really look what year that was.
Exactly.
They're just gonna let a Black person be in that.
Well, no, it wasn't so much they wasn't gonna. It was more so what was happening outside of the show. Whether the show was good or not is, it was canceled. It's whatever. But it was more so women of color, particularly Black women, were being shamed for not supporting that show. And what I kept seeing was women, white women, and non-Black women telling Black women that they should support this show because it was a strong woman. And Black women were telling them, we don't have to just support the show just because she's a woman. Because as Black women, we've seen plenty of shows where white women are the lead. Okay, that's not really groundbreaking for us. No. I get it for women's, but it's sort of, but it's not really that groundbreaking because we see plenty of women in leads. What we don't sometimes see is Black women in leads, and that's still lacking. So I don't think Black women have to automatically just get behind a show because it has a woman in the front, Yes, Madame Scorpio, Kendra was badass. Andrew is saying, honestly, I think since they knew she was leaving, they just didn't care about her character enough to continue writing for her. And that just shows, it's like, this is my thing. Even as a writer, when you create characters, you love them. You love them and you hate them. And if you really are a good storyteller, I think, even if you're going to kill a character off or whatever you're going to choose to do, you still go with it. You don't just abandon that character unless you didn't care for them. Liliana is saying, yes, mostly white LGBTQ R&B and on screen, and people of color LGBTQ still need rep on screen. It's hard though, because it's a struggle for even white gay characters to get proper writing. It's frustrating. Yes. Dab is saying, Rupert posted a nice goodbye message for Mads. So did the actress who played Ruby. Haven't heard anything from Sarah or Melanie. I don't know. Lola is saying, I'm wondering how the writers are going to be focusing on the Vera Vaughn family more in season 4, as they said they are in the next season. Yeah, we'll see. Because at this point, unless the long lost sister, y'all, is either Macy's twin or fraternal twin, or is another baby with Dexter, I think was Macy's father's name. Unless that's the case, they've pretty much gotten rid of the Vaughn aspect of the show. So unless they do that, I don't know how they're going to continue with it. Jaylee is saying, think about the closure they gave Derek Shepard before they killed him off. That was several episodes in the making, not just the very last one. Exactly. Damien saying, one of the decks said they are still committed to learning about the Vera Vaughn family. And I'm like, really? Now that Macy's gone, why couldn't that be done this season? Yeah, I'm just mad at this. Exactly. Deb is saying, Macy was a main character in the Charm one, so they should have done her character exit justice. Letizia is saying, white gay characters have been more represented since the mid-80s in television, not gay people of color. That's also true. It's also true. It's all intersectional, I think. And it all intersects. And that's the whole thing sometimes with people of color characters. They kind of just say, all we are is the race of things. And it's like, no, Black women have different experiences and different thoughts because we have different struggles than our Black male counterparts and so forth and so on with other people, but that we're rarely allowed to be given that kind of complexity. Ray is saying Mads could have made public comments about the direction she wanted the character to go instead of just quitting. I'm gonna push back on you, Ray, and say that Hollywood doesn't work like that. Okay, and she did actually make comments. There were deleted tweets that she had put out talking about how she had concerns about the fact that there was so much more to explore with the sisters, and not necessarily giving a redemption arc plot to a white character. Particularly, she was talking about Abigail. She deleted it because it caused the tizzy and stuff, and she probably got talked to by her bosses or whatever, but she did say something. She did. She had to delete the tweet, but she said something. Also, in a workplace environment, yeah, you could go public. I mean, in union struggles, people go public all the time, but you also kind of hope that you can speak with your superiors and the people you work with, that they'll listen to you without you having to put public pressure on them. And that's not always afforded to Black women in workplace situations. As someone who as journalist and stuff, I've had my microaggressions against me as a Black woman, as the one Black woman on staff, and on the editorial or in a supervisorial position and stuff, and being undermined constantly. And it gets to you. And you, once again, you have to kind of think about your piece. And if whatever rumors are happening with Mads are true, I think she picked her piece. I think she said, I don't want to keep dealing with this. I'd rather not, and she's young, she's beautiful. She's got knock on wood, hopefully a great career ahead of her. I don't think it was personal reasons why she left. I think they would have made that more overt. I think them saying move on, let me know that it was a professional kind of thing and she was done with it. So if that's the case, then I hope she has a long career, and maybe if it's that it'll be, that she'll have a better time somewhere else. Yes, Ray, there are two Vaughns already with Maggie, but Maggie didn't grow up as a Vaughn. She's not culturally Black. And I'm going to keep saying that. That may ruffle some feathers because she happens to have had a Black dad after the fact, but she grew up fully Latina. There's a difference. There is a difference, okay? Just trying to find out what all you guys are saying. Debbie said, I'm thinking this is a baby Marisol put up for adoption when she was very younger. Macy was a twin, and somehow Marisol didn't know. He's saying actors have to sign an NDA, so they're probably restricted in communicating their real feelings. John saying, not because Mads has been actively pushing for better treatment of the characters and reps in season 1 and she was ignored, so let's not say that. Exactly. She has been very vocal. She even eventually left Twitter, I think, because it wasn't working, Ray saying, I really like the character, but season 2 she went downhill, and season 3 she was kind of that girl and not Macy I like from season 1 to be Hasty. But you have to also take in consideration that she wasn't writing her script, right? It was the writers. And you also have to ask why the writers chose to have it so that the Black witch was the one that kind of had the short end of the stick in terms of character development. Letizia is saying, Abigail got the best writing, costumes, lighting. It drew many fans in and also created loyalty and support. Yeah, no, there's a lot going on there. Okay, so Mom, predictions for season 4.
Predictions.
Yes, and what are y'all predictions? Let us know in the chat and also in the replay. What are your predictions for season 4, if you have any? And I want to know, do you think you are going to continue watching in season 4? What do you think, lady?
Do I have a prediction for season 4? Not really. I don't have. Well, I just think that they're gonna go try to find the sister. Then they're gonna have to try to find out how did their mother have another child and they didn't know about it, and that's amazing too. How in the hell can you have another child without your mother telling you that you got another sister out there?
Yeah, and again, like I said, it's not a good look what they're making a Hispanic mother do.
I don't know their prediction for 4, so I'm gonna just leave it at that. I'm not even gonna try.
You're like, I don't know. You're like, I don't know.
I'm through with it. Liliana
is saying, I'll probably give season 4 1 through 3 episodes. I'll probably give season 4 1 to 3 episodes. No idea what they're going to do. Bannon is saying, my prediction for season 4 is that I am not going to watch season 4. Andrew is saying, I'll watch maybe the first couple episodes and see how I feel, but I'm not confident that I'll continue. 401 is saying, my prediction, I won't be there. I'll hear about it and laugh. Blue was saying, my prediction for season 4, they will be canceled. No shade. Well, maybe just a little bit. Lotus is saying, me too. I'll give season 4 a chance. Okay. Yeah. I think that's what a lot of people are feeling right now. I don't know. I feel like the writing hasn't been strong for some time, and people were sticking around for their own reasons. And with less reason to stick around, I don't know if it's going to be able to withstand. I don't know if we're going to get a season 5 renewal on this one, y'all. Damien saying, my prediction, they will act like Macy didn't even exist. This new sister sucks, and the show may not go beyond season 5. That's my prediction. Deb is saying, I'd rather her leave than to let them continue to butcher her character. Mads, I'm supporting Madeline and all my Black sisters. I'm not watching. Definitely. Leticia saying, Madeline has had some reoccurring roles in the TV series, but women of color in the UK have the same difficulty finding substantial parts. I hope Mads gets connected with the right writers and producers.
I'd like to see her in something else.
Yeah, I would too. Jackson is saying, it's Josefina, let's think about it. If Mads told them during episode that when they interviewed and Family Secrets, more secrets, Marisol hid under invisible ink on her letter. I think they'd get a big backlash if it ends up being Josefina, but we'll see. I think that'd also be really predictable, and yeah, no. But we'll see. I guess y'all will see. Lola's saying, I'm thinking that we find out that Marisol might have had a teenage pregnancy. I just hope they are still dealing with Macy being gone. I'll be watching season 4. 401 Felix, and my question, where will we see y'all? Any shows y'all have in mind? Yeah. Are you talking about us, 401 Felix? Like what other shows we're doing, or what shows do you think Mads is gonna go to? If you haven't already, we've been talking a lot, y'all, but if you have not already, please do give this video a like. You know, we've been talking. I've loved hearing all of y'all stuff. And if you are so inclined to give a super chat, show some super chat love. It's always appreciated. Super chat love. Like if you ask a question with the super chat, I can dive a little bit deeper on it because sometimes I can't stop, and go off on a tangent. But if you have a super chat question and want to really give something, that's always appreciated. Letizia is saying, Chauncey, thank you for this charm stream. I'm so angry that I won't be able to continue for season 4. The stereotypes and deep bias so transparent. I can't stand it. Yeah, it definitely is. And you are justified in that, Letizia. I honestly, when I first heard about Mads leaving, I was a little bit annoyed about Mads leaving, but I was like, that's her choice and I understand. But I was also like, I was willing to see what they were going to do with the Macy character. And it wasn't until seeing the season finale and seeing what was done that I was like, wow, they really showed their true colors and how they wanted to treat this character and a woman of color, Black woman character. And I wasn't feeling it. And it just really kind of, they showed their hands. And when they showed their hands, I can't honestly keep giving my time to a show that lets me know how they really feel about certain characters. Yeah. Well, thank you for asking, 401. I meant what shows y'all. Yes. So before we go into like closing out and stuff like that, for those of you, I asked for those of you who like follow my community tab, like what I post in the community tab, definitely pay attention to that because I asked some questions that I hint at stuff that is stuff I'm thinking about doing and going to do. So I will be doing the upcoming Chucky series on Sci-Fi. I will also hopefully, I think I'm going to try to do a trailer breakdown of the new Chucky series trailer. So if you're into that, I'm going to try to give that show a chance to see what it's about. Also, if you have been watching Evil, which is now exclusively on Paramount Plus, Evil is amazing. Speaking of like the complete opposite when it comes to an amazing, well-written show with great characters. Evil. Yes. Evil it was on CBS. Now it's on Paramount Plus. I think season 3 is going to be exclusively on Paramount Plus, but season 1 and season 2 is on Paramount Plus as well, but season 1 debuted on CBS. Is amazing. I'm catching up now. I just recently started and I fell in love with this series. It's about a priest and a psychologist who basically are exploring evil and demons and things like that. And it's amazing. It's a really well-written show and very fun. It's a lot of fun. It's like someone who's it's like really good writers, which is funny. I think it's a husband and wife team behind this show too. And they actually deal with diversity and questions and things like that really well so far. And I will be there. They're showing season 2 on Paramount Plus. And if you catch up, because they're on a mid-season break, me and my mom, my lovely lady here, we will be starting to do reviews for that once they come back from season 2 break, God willing, of course. We're going to start from there. I'm not going to do like a recap of everything else. We're just going to start from that one, but catch up on that. It's an amazing show. And we'll be starting to do, we'll jump in with our reviews from the mid season 2 onward for that. So check that out on Paramount Plus. It's a wonderful show. Also, I'm going to check out, as P4 1990 just put out, Motherland for Salem, which is on that. I'm not sure if I'm going to review it just yet because I got to see if I'm going to be into it. But it's something I'm going to be checking out. But Evil is definitely one that you can check out here. For those of you who are watching DC Titans on HBO Max, I will be doing breakdowns and reviews of that starting when it comes back on August 12th. And those are kind of the main ones coming up immediately. Not immediately, but in the next couple of weeks that I'll be doing. So check that out. And I'll also be having some episodes of American Horror Stories coming out because I've been watching that. I got some pre-recorded ones, and then once this next episode comes out this Thursday, I think it's this Thursday, I will be doing live talks about it. Not as long as these, because it'll probably just be me talking about it. But if you want to join me for the lives of the American Horror Stories show, I'll be doing that as well. So are you excited about Evil, lady?
I don't know yet.
Yeah.
But I thought it was good. It looked like it was good.
Yeah. Yeah, just looking at what some of y'all are saying. And that's true, MH. Nichelle Nichols from Star Trek was thinking about leaving, but stayed because of her Black representation on a popular show. That is true. But I will also say the story of Nichelle Nichols was just funny because I think she talked to Martin Luther King. And Martin Luther King actually advised her that she should stay on the show and like how important it was for her to be on the show. And that's true. But you also, if you remember a little bit Hollywood gossip, Nichelle was having an affair. The affair doesn't matter, but she was very close with Roddenberry, right? She was very close with the man who was writing the show and calling the shots of the show. Although the studio was racist and working against her, he was behind her. So she had support. She had support on that show. Maybe not in the studio pushback, but she had support with the person who was actually the writer and showrunner of the show, which we don't know if Mads had. So it's a little bit different, I think, because one could argue maybe Mads didn't have any of that kind of support in terms of anyone who could make decisions on there. So just a little Hollywood trivia for y'all. I love Hollywood. I love old Hollywood trivia. So much good scandalous stuff. Thank you, Letizia. Big hug and good wishes to you and your mother. It's appreciated.
Thank you.
Deb, thanks for okay, I'm out. Thanks for the review. Chauncey, goodbye, peeps. Stay safe. Wear a mask. Definitely. Bannon is saying, I would definitely be there with you for Titans. I can't wait. Excited. And I am with Mom about Evil. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. Ray is saying Motherland is great. Yes. Yeah, Jackson, I'm definitely doing. I'm editing the previous 3 episodes now, but I'll start doing the other ones live. So we'll get that. If people want to join me for that. Yes, Hollywood was definitely scandalous back in the day. Some good stories, good stuff. But all right, y'all. I don't have any predictions for season 4 because I'm going to be honest with you all. I don't intend on doing reviews for this show in season 4. I'm not going to subject myself to that. If Mads come back or if they, rectify this somehow with the Macy character, maybe. But honestly, as it stands, it wasn't just the stuff with Macy. Honestly, y'all saw these streams. I was always having issues with the way they was writing stuff. Y'all know that. Because most of the time, y'all was always telling me, it's magic. It's okay. Because I was always asking, how does that make sense? So y'all know I've been having issues with this show for a minute now. So I don't see myself trying to do reviews for season 4. But this has been a great time with you all. And I appreciate y'all being here with me and my mama, who I love so much, with this, and for my mama being here with me on this. And hopefully you'll join us for some other shows and some movie reviews that I do and stuff like that. But until then, thanks for joining us on Evil, Madam. You should check it out. I think you'll love it. Thank you, Liliana, for joining us for it as well. And it's been a ride, y'all. And I'm so appreciative of all of you. And I just want to say, never feel like your emotions are not justified, okay? Never have anyone tell you that they're not or gaslight you to think that they're not. And keep fighting the good fight, but also take care of yourselves and your peace. Protect your peace, y'all. And don't let any show or any people behind the show or whatever steal that from you. And I just want to say God bless you all. And thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, we'll talk again soon.